Even though I played Pee-wee football throughout most of my childhood, started varsity my freshman year, and played high school all throughout played football all throughout high school, I don't watch sports now. I just don't. I'm sorry, I don't. But whenever you have a huge team like the Chicago Bears talking about how they're going to build a new stadium and the possible taxpayer costs, well, we got to talk about it. It's Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Yesterday, big announcement from the Chicago Bears, which is like their third announcement of a new stadium idea, I think. Maybe some people can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you recall, they announced that they had purchased the former Arlington Heights racetrack. And then they said, hey, we're going to make a huge campus, all kinds of different, entertainment and even living and office space. And don't forget about the domed sports complex that the Chicago Bears wanted to build in Arlington Heights. They got mired in a whole bunch of tax issues there. And then all of a sudden they come back and it's the rumors they want to make a lakefront property on Lake Michigan in Chicago, keep the Bears in Chicago, and have a huge taxpayer liability there when it comes to how it would be split of private investment and public investment. So let's get right into this. They shared a promotional video of what some of the renderings look like with a lot of flashy graphics and surely to get all you Chicago Bears fans really super duper excited. I think you get the picture. Real slick. It's a domed stadium. They're going to keep the historic columns from Soldier Field. It's going to have synergy with the museums and so on. So clearly a pretty big deal in the announcement. And they even had, of all people, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson there to celebrate the announcement. And apparently he is fully on board with this idea.
With this plan, the Bears are committing to $2 billion of investments. Chicago will experience the increased tax revenue from this investment, expanded public recreation, stronger economic growth for the entire city of Chicago for generations to come. And one of the defining features of this project is that it calls for the implementation of everything that my administration has called for. True public investment. But what it does not call for are raising existing taxes or implementing any new taxes on the residents of the city of Chicago. This will include access to innovative retail and hospitality offerings provided by talented local entrepreneurs from all of the neighborhoods. This plan truly embodies the spirit of the Burnham Plan. We hope to use this new stadium to host several year-round events, including Chicago Public School championships, graduations, major concerts, Final Fours, Big Ten championships. My next inauguration, I don't know, we just keep adding to it.
So there's the mayor having some fun with the announcement, but also they're looking to possibly get a chance to host the Super Bowl in the future. But how's all this going to be paid for? You had the Bears CFO, Karen Murphy, with a slide presentation spelling out the costs.
So what does the stadium cost? What is the budget? And how are we proposing to pay for it? Our all-in stadium budget is $3.2 billion. We're targeting a stadium cost of $2.75 billion, and then when we add in some of the financing costs, as well as a contingency that's appropriate for a project this size, that gets us to the $3.2 billion budget. How are we going to pay for this? So as we stated, Bears ownership is putting in over $2 billion to this project. That will be a combination of both equity and debt contributions. In addition, we will look to the NFL Stadium program for a $300 million loan. If you add up the numbers, That leaves us with a $900 million funding gap. We will be looking to the ISFA program and their bonding mechanism to fill this gap. Our plan is using the ISFA hotel tax that's in place now. There are two things we're looking at with this proposal. One, we would like to refinance the existing debt that's outstanding on both the guaranteed rate and Soldier Field stadiums. In doing that and extending the debt out, the bonds out for 40 years, we will free up enough capacity that we believe could be close to or exceed $1 billion.
So clearly they have a plan here. They say that a little over a quarter of it is going to be taxpayer funded, while the Bears and other entities put in 3/4 of the total project cost. But that's just to build it. What about the infrastructure around it? I mean, you're talking about a lot of infrastructure improvements that are going to be needed.
First phase is around $325 million. This is the infrastructure needed to open the stadium. All in, our stadium project is $3.5 billion. It is $3.2 billion for the stadium, and it's $300 million, just over $300 million in infrastructure. The second two phases, we believe, will both maximize the site as well as bring additional opportunities for publicly owned amenities in the parks.
So you're looking at these three phases here. First phase, $325 million to open it, and then $510 million for the second phase for parking, a bus expansion area, new parks and play fields, and then the phase three, $665 million for further transportation improvements. Altogether, what is that? 1.1 billion plus, it's about $1.5 billion just for the infrastructure costs. So where's that money going to come from? You have the city's financial officer, Jill Jarowski, part of the announcement as well. So, I mean, the city of Chicago is fully on board with this. And she talked about how they're going to be tapping into even federal tax dollars.
We've been working closely with the state.
There's substantial infrastructure funding that comes from the federal government, gets remitted to the states, and becomes available for projects around the state. We will be working with the state to pursue those funds for the road work that's going to be needed.
So, again, working with the state to get those federal tax funds for the road work that's needed to help boost attendance at the Chicago Bears' proposed lakefront stadium. Here is some of the state's leaders, Governor J.B. Pritzker and House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch, throwing cold water on this idea.
I wasn't invited, and I had this already scheduled. That's the truth. I think they announced this 2 days ago. I'm not sure, a day ago. So, yeah. I don't think they uninvited me. They just knew. I mean, I had this on the schedule. So, yeah. Look, I'm a Bears fan. I want to be clear, and I want them to win, and I want them to have a great place to play. But I just think that the taxpayers' dollars need to be protected. I think it's my job to be a good steward of those dollars. But, you know, this got to be a lot better for taxpayers than what they put forward. That's all I'm saying. And clearly this is how they've begun, you know, what they think is a negotiating process. All I can say is that we have three, let me be clear, 3 teams that have come forward and would like to build stadiums and have the state and the city support those stadiums. And this is one team that is offering to take all of the tax revenue for their stadium, and there apparently is nothing left over for the other 2 teams.
If we were to put this issue on the board for a vote right now, it would fail, and it would fail miserably. There's no environment for something like this today. Now in Springfield, environments change. Will that environment change within the next 30 days? I think that's highly unlikely. You know, I think there's a whole lot of Chicago Bears fans in the General Assembly, but our priorities are pretty clear. And we, starting next week, have 1 month to pass another balanced budget to continue the positive outlook that Moody's talked about yesterday with regard to our financial health. And I can tell you that's something that we have front and center as a top priority for us right now. Taking care of working families across this state is a top priority for us right now. That's the bottom.
So the governor, the House Speaker, and even the Senate President throwing cold water on this idea, saying that they're skeptical. For me being a reporter at the State House, listen, when we come back next week to full action at the State House, it's going to be pedal to the metal throughout all of May. They're even scheduled in on some Saturdays and Sundays, and they've got to get a budget together by the end of the month with simple majorities. Throwing this into the mix, it's likely there could be some last-minute deals to get this across the finish line, and who knows, it could be one of those 2 a.m, 3 a.m. deals that passes. So I'm preparing for those long nights. But even the Bears CEO, Kevin Warren, he was asked, when you want to get this done? He says, we want to get it done in spring session. Well, what about fall veto session? Could you wait until fall veto session? And here's the Bears' official response to that.
I mean, we feel that the time is now. I mean, every year that we wait, it's $150 to $200 million of increased costs that ultimately we'll have to figure out. But we don't think that's prudent. The time is now. So our expectation is in this session. And the reason why we're staging that now and not even in a fall veto session is because even if we're approved in a fall veto session, we wouldn't be able to get into the ground because of the weather. It would push it back a year. That if we're approved in May, then that will allow us to be able to start construction to put people to work next summer. And that would allow us 36 months later to open up our building in 2028. So this truly is one of those adages that time is money, and we do need to figure this out. And that's why we've put forward such a robust program and plan.
So tax dollars for a Chicago Bears project. We're going to see that possibly surface during the final weeks of the Illinois legislature's spring session. And I've already seen the comments from people saying, why don't you get the money from the undocumented migrants that have been getting all kinds of services in the state of Illinois. So we'll see how the public reacts to this, but at least the temperature that was provided by House Speaker Chris Welch, there's no appetite for this at the State House. And again, it's not just the Bears. You had the White Sox looking for some public financing. And even the women's professional soccer team looking for some public financing. So how's it going to work? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I appreciate you guys being here with Bishop on Air. All right, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, regular updates, keeping you posted what's going on in and around Illinois here with Bishop on Air. And don't forget to check out thecentersquare.com. thecentersquare.com/Illinois, where you can get more on all of this.